6:23, we're back on this Wednesday morning, the morning after the provincial election. Nancy Macdonald from Macleans joining us today. You were up late, as was I, watching and paying attention to the results. Let's go over where things stand right now as we have a look at the makeup. We're facing a minority government potentially here in BC for the first time in more than 6 decades.
Yeah, I mean, we're facing a minority government and we may be on the cusp of a Liberal majority government. I mean, it all comes down to one riding on Vancouver Island, where the NDP lead by 9 votes. We've still got to count the absentee ballots, and this could go to a recount. This is a riding that includes an army base, and the Liberal candidate used to run that base. And the thinking is a lot of those absentee ballots are going to be people, you know, army members who live on base and maybe elsewhere. And so the Liberals, I think, are very confident that that one's going to flip, which would mean a Liberal majority.
Now, when you look at the potential of a minority, a Liberal minority government, either way, the Liberals have lost some seats in this election. Yeah. What message is Christy Clark receiving from the electorate in British Columbia this morning with the results from last night?
Look, Christy Clark had the strongest economy in the country going into this. She could boast lowest unemployment rate, #1 in job creation, #1 in economic growth. She had a strong record to run on, five balanced budgets in a row. So these results look to be a bit of a slap in the face to Christy Clark, I think. You know, you saw a humbled premier take the stage last night at the Fairmont, and I think this sends a message that they are out of touch, and there's parts of the electorate they're not listening to and they're not resonating with anymore.
What about the NDP and the future of John Horgan? He did not, by the looks of it, succeed to form the next government. What does that mean for him as the leader of the NDP? I
mean, he did, however, give the NDP quite a good run, especially compared to last time. And, you know, he wasn't someone expected to do all that much in this election. You know, he came out swinging. The Irish temper people thought would work against him, but I think he took on the role of prosecutor of the Clark government, and he did that really well, and his message did seem to resonate with voters. So, you know, it was funny last night. It was like watching 3 victory speeches. First Clark, you know, I'm going to form this minority government. Then Horgan, you know, voters in British Columbia, a majority of voters in BC want a change in government, and then out came Weaver, who was obviously a big winner last night with three seats for the party.
Let's talk about the Greens. I mean, they only had 1 going into this, and now the power really could lie in the hands of 3 members of the Green Party on Vancouver Island.
Absolutely. I mean, Andrew Weaver went into the night saying, if we don't increase our seat count, I'm going to retire from politics. They tripled their seat count, and province-wide, I think they received something like 16 or 17% of the vote, which is huge. I mean, that's a massive climb up from last time. So these are great results for the Greens, and it positions, I mean, if we do go in a minority situation, they could play the role of kingmaker.
So all in all, when you look at what's lying ahead, perhaps a Liberal minority government with the Greens having a lot of potential in terms of what could be happening in Victoria, the NDP gaining some momentum as well. Overall, your thoughts on what happened last night?
Gosh, well, I mean, I'm still looking at where we go going forward, and I think even if the Liberals move into majority territory, they still need to whip every vote. They've got to get every member come out to every vote. I mean, it's still a very fine line. So this still looks a little precarious to me, even if we move into majority territory. As for what happens last night, there did seem to be an appetite for change. There was a split on the left with the Greens and the NDP. You know, in 16 ridings, if you looked at the combined NDP Green vote, they would have toppled the Liberals, and so that really mattered. And I mean, we haven't even talked about the giants who exited from government last night: Peter Fassbender, Naomi Yamamoto on the North Shore, Suzanne Anton, former city councillor, justice minister, attorney general. It was quite the night.
Well, we've got more analysis, more results coming up after a quick break. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see what happens, I guess, in the coming weeks, because like you said, some of these races still too close to call, and it really could change things.